So then let's delve into the research and development process, and let's take one example, and maybe the Scotchbond Universal Plus could be the newest product. And could you tell us about the process, how it started, how long the process was, and how it will end up in the market in the end?
It's a quite long story because yeah, we were already quite successful with the Scotchbond Universal. So yeah, we had to think about yeah, how can we further improve this material and add new useful features while yeah, not taking away what our customers like about it. And so of course, yeah, we made a list of properties we may still yeah, add to the material. And yeah, formulation development took about 5 to 6 years, if you want, because yeah, the new features also required some yeah, let's say well, different inventions in terms of chemistry. For instance, the Scotchbond Universal Plus is radiopaque in contrast to the original Scotchbond Universal. And we are not achieving the radiopacity through adding a radiopaque filler, which is the traditional way of making radiopaque dental materials. But our synthetic chemists developed a radiopaque resin, which gives the Scotchbond Universal Plus a radiopacity at the level of the dentin, which will have the benefit that in the case of pooling of the adhesive, the thick adhesive layer under a restoration won't look like a dark shadow anymore, which could be interpreted also as caries, as a void or a gap. But it has the same radiopacity as the surrounding dentin, so this potential misdiagnosis can be avoided. And this radiopaque resin also doesn't use bisphenol A anymore as a backbone, in contrast to the widely used bis-GMA resin, which is the cross-linking part of the original Scotchbond Universal. And although I think dental materials using bis-GMA are perfectly safe to use, as has been proven for many, many years, and also Scotchbond Universal has gone through all the biocompatibility evaluations very successfully, there is a growing yeah, demand for materials which do not contain bis-GMA or other resins which are derived from BPA chemistry anymore. And so we are also addressing this need in the market with the new Scotchbond Universal Plus. Another important trend which we saw is the yeah, minimally invasive dentistry, which I think yeah, is a great topic because I think everyone wants to be more healing than just replacing or repairing teeth. And it's a topic that has been very active in academia for many years, but now it's also reaching general practitioners more and more. So they hear about minimally invasive preparation techniques, about removing less and less healthy tooth substance to extend the longevity of the tooth. And for instance, they hear you don't need to excavate until you reach the sound dentin. It's more important not to open the pulp. So on the pulpal aspect of the cavity, it's safe to leave behind caries affected dentin and not risking to open the pulp. But they don't know, how does my adhesive stick to the caries affected dentin? Will I get a good bond? Will it be sealed? And so we developed and tested Scotchbond Universal Plus to give good bond strength to the caries affected dentin and also to form a well-defined hybrid layer on that substrate and seal it so it can be used with confidence for minimally invasive preparation techniques as well.
That's interesting because that's new topic we've been discussing in Finland, the living caries in the cavity. So it's always important to clean all the margins really well. But
Yeah, of course. The margins still need to be in enamel or in sound dentin, but yeah, I think in order to keep a tooth vital, and that's been shown in so many studies, and there is lots of publications and consensus conferences, etc. Yeah, it's more important not to open the pulp than trying to remove the last portion of yeah, stained or affected dentin.
so, in what part of the process do dentists start testing the product?
Oh, as I said, we have groups of dentists from different countries under confidentiality agreement, which means they can be shown prototypes very early on, of course, in vitro only. But for instance, they will then come to our lab and they will get the prototype and let's say apply an adhesive prototype to the teeth to extracted teeth, and then they give us their feedback. I like the handling, or maybe yeah, it's too thick, it's too runny, things like that. And so we can then modify the formulation and yeah, so yeah, adjust it to their preferences.
I have never tested any products in the lab, but I have tested them with patients when you have enough information that we can test it.
Yes.
I always wonder the questionnaires after testing, because when you are testing an adhesive, usually the handling it's not a problem with today's products, and I think what matters more is that how good the product is. So more, I would be like interested more in the research data that you have about the product, how well it holds the composite in it.
Yeah, of course, that data is available, but I think you will understand that we cannot disclose this data a long time before we actually launch a new material into the market.
Yes, of course.
So, yeah, with the market launch of Scotchbond Universal Plus, the full package will be available, like yeah, brochures, case studies, yeah, technical product profile, study booklet, and many other yeah, documents, or yeah, also yeah, webinars, or lots of other information.
Yes. So let's summarize the R&D process. So, for example, for Scotchbond Universal Plus, how long was this whole process? You said 7 years, or did I remember correct?
I think no, it was not 7
Okay.
years in total. So maybe the formulation development was 5 years maybe. And of course, after you have finalized your formulation, yeah, the work continues, because you need to make sure that you can not only produce it in a small amount in the lab, but you need to be able to produce it in the factory in a much larger scale, which can have problems of its own, because it's a big difference whether you just have to stir maybe 10 milliliters in a small beaker on the lab bench, or if you have to stir 200 kilograms in a big barrel. And so you need to make sure that process works. You need to make sure that your formulation is biocompatible. So you need to meet all the criteria on biocompatibility as demanded by the ISO standards, which apply for that. And then you need to set up studies to demonstrate the in vitro performance. Of course, we have our own in-house data, but we also want to get third-party results. And yeah, then these data need to be compiled into yeah, booklets, brochures, and so on, so that they are available as an information for our customers when we launch a product. And so this whole process takes several years.
So long project.
Absolutely.
Then next topic, let's just talk briefly about adhesives and filling composites. Do this development process go hand in hand with adhesives and filling composites, or are they usually separate projects and separate teams?
Well, they are separate projects and separate teams because yeah, you need different experts when it comes to because yeah, both have many chemical components in common, but they need to be optimized for different purposes, obviously. And also we they are made using different equipment in our factories, so different processes are involved. But when we develop a new adhesive, we also always make sure that we test the bond strength not only with our own composites but also with the market leading competitive composites to make sure that there is a good performance. And yeah, so and also in part we have the same colleagues on an adhesive or on a composite project team.
Okay, let's then jump to the next theme, and it's the other brands and cheap products that we have in the market. So, is there a vast difference between premium adhesives or composites and cheap products, in your opinion, or based on research data?
Well, of course, if you look at the brochures of the manufacturers, everyone is very positive about their products. Ultimately, I think what's important is not only the data generated by the manufacturers, but also what other researchers say. For instance, with Scotchbond Universal, in the meantime, there is more than 400 independent studies published in peer-reviewed journals, and that alone is more than for all of the yeah, competitive universal adhesives taken together. And I think also our competitor or brand competitors in the market, they want to have their products tested by independent resources. But if you look at the cheap products or dealer brands, this kind of evidence is missing. Um, I only see very few studies being published yeah, on these materials. Also, we and our larger competitors, of course, have large research labs. We obtain a patent protection for our materials. So if you want to have the leading technology, I think you need to get materials from the larger manufacturers, whereas the cheap products typically are based on older technology where patent protection has expired.
Yeah, you mentioned you tested compatibility with different these bigger brands also. So dentists can safely use, for example, 3M's adhesives or some other major brands composites.
Right. Yeah. So we purchase competitive materials and test them in our lab, and also yeah make sure that compatibility is there because yeah when you develop a universal adhesive, for instance, yeah you need to make sure that it's compatible yeah with the market leading products also from our competitors.
That's good to know because at least in Finland, not so many dentists can decide on all materials which they use. They might have a different flowable composite and then other brands composite. So it's good to know that these can be used safely together.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Of course. I think there are definite benefits to using yeah the materials out of one company because for instance when we develop our composites or our adhesives and do the bond strength testing, we routinely use our own composites. And so by that way, naturally our adhesives are optimized for use with our composite. And later on, we do the compatibility testing and see, well, there is also a great bond strength with competitive composites, but still the optimization has been done using 3M materials. And when it comes to the indirect use, together with the resin cement, for instance, Scotchbond Universal Plus has been optimized for use with the new Relay X Universal, which will be launched at the same time. And then you get the full benefit of the package, like the highest bond strength, which can be achieved yeah, by the use staying within the system and also other benefits like not having to light cure the adhesive on the tooth side, for instance, which is features which you can realize by co-developing the adhesive and the cement, but not necessarily when you develop your formulation and then test for compatibility with another material.